So Carolyn was practically the only adult who had a talent, and so I thought that adults should have more talents. Well, this year there were a lot of adults who were having talents. So I tried to think what was my talent, and I began to think, okay, variety. This is variety. We don't have to have talent. And it seems like my talent should be history, since I was a history professor for 40 years. It ought to be anyway, but it's my variety. And anyway, I'm the church historian, and I haven't done very much. And so they're asking me if I'll be the historian again, and I think I better do something. And so Levon made a wonderful video of Cy and Carolyn telling stories about the past, and so I thought we would tell some stories about Cy and Carolyn IT. As my talent. If you've heard on NPR, they have this story corps. People, first to start out in Grand Central Station, there was just a little booth, and you could go in there and talk to your mother, or say, well, what about that, mother? And so I'm going to ask Cy and Carolyn IT stories to tell us a couple of stories. But we're only supposed to have 5 minutes. So first of all, I thought, well, when I started to talk to IT about talents, and then he was looking at me like, talent? Well, he said, I used to be a tap dancer.
And I thought that's the reason she wanted me up. But I'm glad that I don't have to do that, because that was 70 years ago. And, if I fell, I might not bounce back.
I was
like these kids.
Excited about that because I'm a tap dancer too. I once won a talent show for tap dancing in the 7th grade. But we can't tap dance on the carpet.
No, thank goodness.
So I start out with Cy and Carolyn. They're the heart of the social gospel in our church, and we all admire them for their fortitude, for keeping on demonstrating month after month, even though if Cy puts a political sign in my yard, I know that person is going to lose. And so I thought I would ask them first to tell us a little bit about their history in the church and their accomplishments in pursuing the gospel. So who's going to start, Cy or Carolyn?
I guess I will. I think our real talent, as you can see, is we have the ability to grow old. At one time in our church, we had a program called the Institute of Religion, and we brought speakers in for 6 successive Monday nights in January and February each year. And some of the speakers were really very distinguished people. And one of them one year was Clifton Daniel. And you may not know who Clifton Daniel was, but he was the managing editor of the New York Times. And he was from Zebulon. He grew up in Zebulon. But his real claim to fame was he married Margaret Truman. And some of you may not know who Harry Truman was, but you should know. He was our president, and Margaret was his only daughter. And she was a musician, and she sang in one concert she gave. The music critic was very unkind and panned her performance. And the President of the United States on White House stationery wrote that critic a blistering note. But anyhow, when we invited Clifton Daniel, we had no idea that Margaret would come too, but she did. And so that was very exciting. We made quite an evening. At that time, we had a woman in the church named Miriam Schmidt. And Miriam Schmidt was a very talented woman, and she was sort of in charge of arrangements for the Institute of Religion. This was when we were in the downtown church on the corner of Hillsborough and Dawson Street. And she just saw that everything went right. The programs were in place, the water was on the podium for the speaker, everything went right. And you can't imagine the talent that this woman had. Maybe if you could think of Jane Smith and maybe Sally Cook and Carol Clark and Marty Lamb all rolled into one, you get an idea of how talented this woman was.
That's good.
So everything went well and was just great. Suddenly somebody came who whispered into Miriam's ear, Margaret Truman is in the ladies' room and there's no toilet. Think what they would have given me. We had tonight. So it shows the best laid plans can go astray.
About how unexpected consequences can kind of cancel out what you try to do in the way of social action. For years we were on the social action, that's what it was called in those days, social action committee, and we would have our meetings in our homes and have a meal together. So it was our turn to be the hosts, and I was going to have part of the meal was a fruit salad, and I needed some grapes. However, at that time, we were trying to support Cesar Chavez, who we've been boycotting lettuce in order to help Cesar Chavez help organize the farm workers. And we were trying not to buy grapes because he was trying to help the grape growers and so the grape pickers. So when I went to the grocery, I really did want to have grapes. So I went to the produce man and I said, are these American grapes? And he said, no, these grapes come from Chile. I said, oh, good. I'll buy these Chile grapes. So I got the Chile grapes and we had a very nice meeting, and I told them about my experience. I was very proud of myself that I was trying to stick to our, our project. Next morning, I got up, and there was a big headline in the paper said, grocery shoppers are warned to stay away from Chile grapes. They've been contaminated with cyanide. So nobody got sick, nobody died. That's quite a